If there was a gambling app where I could bet on which musical artist is going to give you the most nerd cred for catching on to before they revolutionize the way we think about sounds in 5 years, I'm putting my tuition on Lucy Bedroque. I first heard of him when one of the 9 people in the world who deserves a podcast, Danny Brown, posted this video on Twitter.
But Lucy Bedroque, I don't know where you start, but go down the rabbit hole like I did. I listened to the same song for like 3 hours last night. But yeah, Lucy Bedroque, the future.
Over the last few years, we've really begun to see the long-term effects of being born after the year 2000. As an '01 baby, my attention span and lust for life didn't stand a chance in a world where my friend could show me the 2 Girls 1 Cup video during recess, and since COVID, all I've done is doom scroll through stolen clips from Breaking Bad, with dumb filters and every word plastered on the screen. Despite how easy it is to be a complete doomer in the face of everything, there's a lot of great talent coming from this age demographic. If you have a younger relative that likes music, just ask them what they know about Jane Remover or 2 Hollis and watch their face light up. The most common genre tag I've seen to describe these artists is digicore, which is essentially 2010s EDM and trap music with a gas leak. There's many different products of this sound, whether that be Kuro's fusions of atmospheric drum and bass, or Twikipedia's more emo, sing-songy approach, but there's one who stands above the rest in my opinion, if you couldn't guess based on the video title. Lucy Bedroque, aka has been putting out music for the last 5 years, which is more than a quarter of the time he's been alive on this earth. He was born in the Bronx about a year after the Xbox 360 came out and moved to LA at age 9. Our story begins in the same place that every Gen Z love story does, Discord, where he became active in the Sigilcore scene and made connections with Case Trueno and the rest of the Greed Collective. Sigilcore is essentially digicore for goth people who watch anime, but it's a label that Lucy doesn't really claim nowadays.
I don't really label my music or anything, and I'm not too... I used to dislike the digicore label and anything, or the Sigilcore, Maplecore, all of that, but the closest thing I can say my music is alternative, and although I make rap and I make like hip-hop and whatnot, at the end of the day, I know what I make, and I'm happy with what I make.
Earlier singles released under the Lost Tarushi moniker, like Maple, Valentine's Day, and Six Anthem, just to name a few, have this aggressive bounciness that make them easy to get lost in on repeat despite only being around 2 minutes. His most streamed song at the time of me writing this is True Perspective, and oh my god, I can't get enough of this track. The beat is able to maintain this pretty nighttime ambiance while still going hard as fuck on the drums and bass. It sounds like Sea Swallow Me getting its back blown out. Tarushi's flow is actually really impressive on a technical level, while still melodically tying everything together in an interesting way. It plays out like one giant hook for the most part, but the song's lone verse is as braggadocious as it is peculiar, with lines like shut up, shut it out, that's how you felt, and I'm a proud father, they grow up so fast, look at my kids. It doesn't feel cocky so much as it does legitimately predictive of the wave that the song is at the center of. The song was made by a 15-year-old, by the way. His first album, Sisterhood, released in 2023, explores a wider palette of moods and styles. In an interview with Ray Isla Crumble from Nobels.blog, Tarushi said Sisterhood is a double album, to which the second part hasn't been released yet, that is comprised of 3 different aspects of himself that have their own names and stuff. He kind of abandoned this concept on later releases, but it's prevalent here, with the first 4 tracks being more syrupy, the middle section having all the bangers, and the last 4 being the prettiest and most ambient. Some highlights on the album include Hydroxy Cut, which has one of the most whacked out grooves I've ever heard on a digicore song, Take Me Back for having some of the prettiest vocal layering and songwriting on the album, and my personal favorite, Madam Lucy, just because I'm a sucker for the key that it's in. The album's only single and longest track, Infinitude/Ouroboros, is also worth mentioning for how much of a departure it is from Tarushi's old sound. The first half is this cinematic arrangement of guitars made to sound like a movie from the late 90s, partially sampling Linkin Park's By Myself, before the second half explodes back into chronically online Zoomer music without losing its prettiness. The song was made by a 17-year-old, by the way. It's one of the most memorable tracks he's ever made, and dare I say the moment that Lost Tarushi became Lucy Bedroque.
I say Lost Tarushi was more of like something I came up with when I was 14, and I can't really see it beyond what it was when I was like a teenager. And I think Lucy Bedroque is more of it's more substantive, and it means something, I'd say, now to me. And I feel like it's something I can actually cling to for as long as I possibly can.
The sounds of his subsequent Amy EP would fall more in line with what he was doing on this song. Altruism Kills kicks off the project with nature sounds and keys that make me feel like I'm living inside of a digital garden. And Lift Jump Exhale is similarly pretty while maintaining his aggressive style. He did a collaborative project with fellow Ox banner Ego Break just a few months later, and yeah, you know, it's pretty good. Ego Break essentially makes post-SoundCloud rap with screenshots from PS3 games as the cover art, though admittedly pretty much all of my favorite songs of his are with Lucy. This EP also has a feature from Pretty Fun, who's bringing a lot of sunshine and rainbows to the rage rap scene right now, and is well worth checking out. Lucy's strongest release from 2024, and my favorite project of his so far though, is Dea Vanilla, which shares its name with a festival celebrating vanilla in New Caledonia. It's here where he fully embraces what some brilliant music scholars may label as art pop, while still keeping it glitchy and hard to pin down. The first song, I Am, She Is, We Are, is maybe the best example of this, because it sounds like an Imogen Heap song after standing up too quickly and having blood rush to your head. He continues to dabble in digicore throughout the project, but it doesn't really sound like anything you'd find in your typical playlist with an anime girl on it. Not Me is maybe the closest thing to an honest-to-God ballad I've heard in the genre up to this point, and even my least favorite song, Mimosa, gets me dizzy and fiending for another round as Lucy keeps talking about making a fuck ton of mimosas over a beat that sounds like it's drunk. The crown jewel of this entire EP, and maybe Lucy's whole catalog at the time of me writing this though, is How to Pretend, which is a song I'd recommend to literally anybody, even if all you listen to is rain sounds. It's about a dysfunctional relationship, as all good songs are, but delves into it in a very down-to-earth way. The verses talk about the toxic tendencies that these two people would get off to while pretending everything is working, before the hook comes in with this euphoric moment of clarity. The song was made by an 18, yeah, you get the gist. Even the most reliable website in the world for accurate information, Genius.com, describes this hook as your ears losing their virginity. It's legitimately one of my favorite pop songs of the decade, which is pretty impressive for an underground artist whose genre is often described as YouTube poop music. Man, this whole EP is just so melodic and gracefully put together. I can't wait to hear how he expands upon this sound on his next full length. Oh shit, here we go again. Une Musique is really unlike any of Lucy's previous work, and has gotten him a lot more attention, even being covered by outlets like Pitchfork and The Needle Drop. God damn it, I took too long. I missed the algorithm boost I could have gotten. Une Musique was recorded during Lucy's first year at university, largely in his room, which makes me wonder what other students walking by thought when they heard him yell about Go in 2010 Bieber. Despite being his longest release so far, he seems to view it more as a fun side project.
The idea for this mixtape was that I wanted to create something that was pretty much not so much of like a passion project, more so like a fun thing to make, as opposed to my last two passion projects. I'd say I consider like Sisterhood or the Vanilla EP as like ambitious projects. This was more of like a kind of fun project, and I think that probably would have created backlash. And it's a bit different, but it was kind of just fun to make, so I was like, it's cool.
A lot of the tracks here fall in line with the rage rap sound that Opium has made popular in the last few years, but there's still a lot of range on display. For every straightforward rager like Ouija and Fenty Face, there's something a bit more laid back like Cat's Eye or the highly jerkable Ignorant. Some other highlights on here are G6 Anthem for being a crazy electropop rave that completely breaks down when the hook comes in, and of course the album's most popular song, 2010 Justin Bieber, which has one long verse that packs in so much swag that Justin Bieber himself had to come back and make 2 albums about it. If you're a fan of the rage rap sound and haven't given this thing a shot yet, then what the hell are you doing? Overall, despite being very young and early on in his career, there's nobody who's doing it like Lucy right now. It's fascinating to see how many artists have found new tactics to 100% FL Studio because much of their adolescence has been spent stuck inside due to a pandemic and nothing being affordable. He's built an impressive array of projects thus far, some of which have been compiled into this album called Sororite that you can still buy on vinyl. It hasn't sold out yet. I look forward to hearing what he puts out next, especially after hearing him talk about it here.
Working very, very diligently on this project. This is probably going to be like my most important project to me yet. A lot of artists want this as well, but kind of want this project to kind of change everything, so to say.
Big shout out to Hyperpop Daily for doing this interview. I'll link the full thing down below. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, you know the drill.